Welcome, everyone. My name is Jenna Avering, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a fitness and nutrition coach from Burlington, Ontario, Canada. In Burlington, I operate a small boutique personal training studio. And this topic, feeding your fussy eaters, has come up time and time again with my private clients. So I wanted to reach out beyond my studio and offer some of this information that I discuss with my private clients. I wanted to offer this information to women across North America. So that's why we're all here together today, obviously. So thank you for joining me. So the first thing I wanted to discuss is healthy meals. So most of us are here because we want to take charge of our own health. And as you've probably figured out, because you're here, that the number one way to impact your health is through nutrition. So whether your goals are to get strong, lean, get off meds, to get into last year's wardrobe, 80% of the results that you are going to get come from nutrition. Only 20% come from exercise. So you are on the right track being here to discuss healthy meals. And impacting the health of your family is going to come largely from what goes on that table. So we're going to discuss that today and hopefully get through, give you some ideas on how to help your family through this change. So we've all downloaded the PDF worksheet, Build Your Ideal Healthy Meal. If you haven't, please shoot me an email and I'll send you off that PDF worksheet. Notice in the title there it says You're an Ideal. So ideal meaning that this is a process. This is something to work toward. It's not going to happen overnight if you're expecting a whole family to eat and enjoy the same meal. So I'm here to help you through it, and hopefully together we can get you started towards a healthier family. 60% of Canadian families report to have children who are picky eaters. I don't know if there's any data out there for spouses, but I'm sure that there are plenty of them out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So we're going to hopefully find a way to have everybody eating the same meals, something that you feel good about eating yourself and serving to others. So let's get on to this. So we want to take a look at our timeline and goals, first of all. As I said, this is a process. So anyone who's worked with me knows that the first thing that we do when we're coaching together is that we try to set some goals. We look at what your goals are, but we have to be realistic about them. There are a couple of things that we discuss when it comes to goals. One is that there are two types of goals: outcome goals and behavior goals. Outcome goals are goals that we can't really control. So for instance, in this case, an outcome goal would be to get your spouse to like salmon because you like salmon and it's healthy, it's really good for you, but your spouse doesn't like salmon. Well, we can't really control whether our spouse is ever going to like salmon or not. But what we can do is we can control our behaviors and the action steps that we do in order to get to our outcome goal. So hopefully we're going to find some tactics to help people along the process with this process of change. Now, remember that when we're talking about behavior goals, we can really only control our own behaviors and our own actions. So your job is to focus on what you can control and understand that it's you that wants to change. If you're having any resistance at home, it's likely that nobody else has a motivation to change. So you have to keep that in mind, that you're going to have to find ways to motivate people to change. And hopefully with some of the information you're going to get in today's webinar, you're going to be able to do that. Okay, small incremental changes are the ones that are going to work. Behavior modification is what my coaching is based in, behavior modification. So just so you know, the most successful change happens when it's done through tiny, manageable steps and very gradually. And that's the way that we are going to help people along. We want to avoid all or nothing thinking. So you're going to have a game plan, And today we're going to come up with a ton of different ideas. You're going to be tempted to try them all, okay? But I will tell you that if you try them all, it's probably going to fail. So take lots of notes today, write down all the things you want to try, and then we're going to come up with a plan, okay? The next thing that I want to say, I want to talk about what the low-hanging fruit is all about. So when you have that list of everything that you're going to try, you're going to go for that low-hanging fruit. The easiest thing to change is what we're going to change first. So just give you, for instance, you've got a family that loves to eat white pasta. You've been eating white pasta. Nothing has ever gone on the table. No brown pasta has ever gone on the table. But you want to switch to spiralized zucchini noodles. Well, I'll tell you that going from white pasta to spiralized zucchini noodles, that's a huge change. So you want to go low-hanging fruit. What's the easiest thing that you can do at this point? The easiest thing I would suggest in this situation is maybe switching to something like Smart Pasta, which is a high fiber white pasta. Nobody would ever know the difference. So that's what I'm talking about with low-hanging fruit. Go with a change that's tiny and achievable. And then celebrate your small successes, okay? You don't have to celebrate them as a family, but pat yourself on the back for a job well done, okay? It's important to see how far you've come and to celebrate how far you've come rather than looking ahead to how far you have to go, okay? Because every change that you make is a small step in the right direction, so celebrate that. You want to be consistent and understated perseverance, I say here. You're going to be consistent. We're going to try and do whatever that new action that you're going to do, whatever that behavior, whatever that little tiny low-hanging fruit, small change is that you're going to make. We're going to do this we're going to practice that for 2 weeks, okay? And then that's going to be your consistency. You want to practice whatever that little change is for 2 full weeks, and then after that 2 weeks is complete, and you're going to then layer on the next change. This done consistently is going to add up to a lot of change over time. This is an evolution, it's a journey, and you want to think of it in that time frame. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about here, how to talk about food. Okay, so when we're talking about food with our partner, and when we're talking about change and about eating healthy, you want to keep it personal. So keep it about yourself. So ask for your partner's support. You don't want to be telling them to change because you think they need to change. This is about you, and you should make it about yourself. Ask for support. When we're talking about food with our children, that's a different area. So we have to look at the bigger picture here. You're instilling healthy habits in your children. This is what you're trying to do. You're also setting the stage for healthy emotions around eating. So you want to keep it you want to keep the discussion about keeping your body healthy, keeping your brain healthy. Keep the discussion away from appearances and weight and diet and so on. Find something that's relevant to your child. Find something that is motivating to them. So if, let's say, they're into sports, they're into playing soccer, you want to discuss food in a way that fuels the body and makes them feel better, gives them more energy. If they're more academic, then it's gonna sharpen their focus. It's gonna help their brain to work better. Find something that's important to them and relate it to that. It's not about appearances. We want to talk about nourishing the body. You can find an analogy. I like to use a race car analogy with children. So thinking about the fastest, most awesome race car, and you want it to perform really well. So what kind of fuel do you give that race car? You give it premium fuel. You want to take good care of it. You want to make sure that you change the oil, that you use all the best oils and the best gasoline. If you expect it to go really fast and perform really well and you put mud in the gas tank, what's going to happen to that car? So you can discuss food in this way and how fueling your body is like fueling a high performance car. Other thing we can talk about is red, yellow, and green light foods. I like to think of this for myself as well. Red light foods are ones that I have to avoid completely because I'll be out of control around them. But when you're talking about it with kids, green light foods, you want to talk about green light foods being wholesome, healthy foods. They come from plants. They are found in a garden. They come from a farm. They're picked off of trees. They're bright colors. They have no packages. They're animal products. They're whole grains. The colors of the whole grains are not stark white, but they're natural colors. Yellow light foods, there may be white versions of the products that we were just talking about, like the grains. So maybe white rice and so on. Maybe white flour, packaged versions of maybe packaged vegetables. So foods that contain sugar, treats are maybe in this here. Yellow light foods are kind of, sometimes foods. They're foods that we have sometimes and we have them in moderation. Red light foods, we can talk about those being the over-processed foods, the ones that are, they market straight to kids with the bright color packages, ingredient lists that are miles long that have ingredients that you can't even pronounce. So red, yellow, green light foods is kind of a great way to kind of classify the foods, and you can discuss with children about where all the foods fall. Like you walk through the grocery store. You can also there's a fun little game called Who's Your Mommy? It's a little awareness game. You can discuss where foods come from. So if you're talking about, where does an orange come from? Who's your mommy? Well, it comes from a tree, right? It's picked off of a tree. So that's pretty close to, as natural as you can get. Now, if you're talking about something that comes in a bright colored package and then the ingredients I can't pronounce, and who's your mommy there? Well, probably a factory. So this is a good way for kids to sort of gain a little bit of an awareness as to where foods come from and trying to get them to choose whole foods, which are much better for us. Okay, now we're going to set the stage here because, as I've said before, we can't change somebody else for them. So what we're going to do is set the stage for change. So here are some action items we'll talk a little bit about. First one that we're going to talk about is having regular family meals. Why do we want to do this? Well, studies have shown that kids are more likely to choose healthy foods, healthy snacks. They're more likely to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables and grains. They're less likely to develop addictions to cigarettes, alcohol, drugs. And more importantly, this gives you a chance to model healthy behaviors. So you are going to be able to demonstrate that eating this variety of healthy foods is something that you take seriously. You can also encourage mindful eating when you're together as a family. So discussing the food, talking about it, talking about the flavors, eating slowly, respecting mealtime. And even if you're not together, perhaps you can make a designated eating area rather than just taking the food to the computer or to the TV or, playing on your iPad while you have your after-school snack. Have a designated eating area. That's also going to encourage some mindful eating. So we talked a little bit about being a role model. Okay, so obviously you're here because you want to be eating healthier. So be careful of the all or nothing again. I'm going to come back to that. It's easy to get caught up in, well, my family doesn't want to change, so I guess I can't do this. Well, you have to look at your behaviors outside of family meals as well. Are you walking the talk? Like, are you taking care of your own health outside of the family meals? That's one way that you can be a role model. Another one is to be careful how you're talking about your own body. You don't want to talk about diets. You don't want to talk about appearances. You want to foster a really healthy body image for your children. And yourself. Your mind is going to believe what you tell it about yourself, whether that's positive or negative. So this affects you as well. And this can affect children for the rest of their lives, hearing that negative self-talk. So be careful what you're saying about your body and about others. You can discuss things. You'll have to see if you can rephrase things in a different way. So, for instance, maybe in discussing your own hunger cues, rather than saying something like, oh, I shouldn't eat the rest of this. I'll get fat. You rephrase that, say, as much as I love the taste of this, I'm too full to continue eating. I'd love to eat it all, but I'm not hungry anymore. So I'm just going to put it away to enjoy later. I'd rather enjoy it later than feel uncomfortable after I finish this. So just rephrasing things. Now, here's a big one, making healthy food and snacks readily available. Okay, so I'm going to scooch ahead really quick here, and I'm going to talk to you about the basic laws of nutrition according to one of my mentors, John Berardi. So his basic laws of nutrition state, if a food is in your house or possession, either you or someone you love or someone you marginally tolerate will eventually eat it. Okay? So, good or bad, food is in your house, someone's going to eat it. Now, think about it the other way. If a healthy food is in your house or possession, either you or someone you love, someone you marginally tolerate, will eventually eat it. So if you're stocking your house with healthy foods and limiting the amount of unhealthy foods, then eventually people are going to eat that. Now, that's easier said than done sometimes, right? So let's discuss some ways to make this a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to back out here. Okay. So what you can do, make sure that you're serving fruit and veg at every single meal. Make it available and make it easy. This is a big one. This was a turning point for me in my journey when I started grabbing vegetables rather than, whatever my crackers or something that grabbing vegetables for a snack was made easier when I started buying fruit and vegetables. And instead of putting them immediately into my fridge, I put them on the counter and put everything else away. Then before I did anything, I went to I washed all of my vegetables, I chopped them up and put them away. Now, I made time for that. I made an extra effort and put 15 minutes on the end of my shopping trip. And I thought, okay, this is going to be my time. I am going to make sure that all this stuff gets in the fridge and it's clean at least. So little things like chopping up some celery, chopping up some carrots, even tiny little things like peeling those little stickers off the apple, off the pepper, washing it, putting it in the fridge washed. That makes such a big difference in how much time it takes to have a healthy snack readily available right after work, right after school. Having a Tupperware full of crudité makes it easy for the kids to go in and grab something. The apple's already washed, they can grab it. So this takes a little bit of forethought, but in the end, it's really not a lot of effort. You do have to set aside that time, but it's not a lot of effort. And the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. So just see if you can make that a habit. Maybe that's one of the habits that you work on for a couple of weeks. Having other things like Greek yogurt in the fridge, that's a great snack. Crackers and hummus, natural peanut butter, lean protein. So if you're already making, say, a pork tenderloin, make an extra one and then chop it up into medallions and have those in a Tupperware in the fridge. Easy snack food. So that's another great thing. You can slice up chicken breast, same thing. That's something that's available, that it's just right there at people's fingertips. Eventually, they're going to make that choice. If there's nothing else available, I'm sure that that is something, if they're hungry enough, they're going to eat that. Okay, we want to limit the sugary drinks, fast food, processed food, so that those yellow and red light items, we want to limit those, but we don't want to ban them from the house. Remember, we're not going to talk about them as unhealthy foods. We're going to talk about them as the sometimes foods, and that those are treats, and they're the once in a while treats. We want to put them in a special place, not at eye level, so that that's not the first thing that people see when they open the fridge or the cupboards. And we bring those out for special occasions, or, as a treat, as a, healthily chosen treat. Okay, the other thing we want to avoid food battles. I'm sure we've all had our time with these. So people, I had mentioned this before, people have to want to change. And too much change all at once is bound to fail. So I think about if you were to ask someone who takes their coffee with cream and sugar, if you were to tell them all of a sudden, sorry, no more cream and sugar tomorrow, you can't have that, you have to have your coffee black every morning, they're not going to be too happy about that. This is kind of what we're asking our children, our partners to do. So we're making a big change all at once. So you want to have little incremental changes. So limiting those poorer choices, making better choices available. But now, how to avoid that battle? You want to give your family some control. Let them choose from amongst the healthier choices. Let them choose. Maybe they can help. They can help choose what is going to be on the menu for dinner, or let them choose what they're having for lunch the next day. Another thing that you can do to avoid food battles is to serve plates in the kitchen, and then have lots of vegetables available on the table. So have an idea of how many bites you want you want your child to try 2 bites of the new food before they serve up, before they decide that they're not going to have that and they want something else. Have that in, as a rule at the table, and no questions asked. That's the end of the story. If 2 bites have been eaten, then that's fine. Then they're able to load up on whatever else it is that they actually would like. We don't want to get into the forcing kids to clean their plate. This is teaching them to override hunger cues. This is something that adults have issues with, and kids have it down pat. They know their hunger cues. So let's not get them to override those. If we can get them to ride those out forever, to have those proper hunger cues, then that's a real plus for you and for your children forever. And another thing I want to mention is the dessert. We don't want to use this as a prize for finishing your plate. And we don't want to use food as a reward or for love. You want to find another way to reward your child. And this is setting up patterns for emotional eating down the road. And for partners, we want to make sure that we're not tying trying new food up in them showing their love for you. You don't want to insist that they try something new just because that you deserve it, and that that's showing their love. Make it about being healthy and about trying new things. We want to respect people's dislikes, and under no circumstances should you be disguising foods that someone doesn't like and trying to disguise it as something else. That people aren't going to trust you if you try to sneak in something that they don't like. Make sure that you're upfront about these things. It takes 10 times to taste something new and actually like it. So things do change, palates do change. So you want to give people the opportunity, but let's be upfront about this. And the last thing I want to say about avoiding food battles is that we don't want to preach at the dinner table. We don't want to preach about food, period. But when somebody does try something new, you want to notice the effort, but not make a big deal out of it. You can say something like, good job for trying something new. Thank you so much for trying something new. I appreciate that you tried it. But let's not make a big deal out of it, because that can then also turn into a battle. Last thing I want to talk about here for setting the stage is involving the family. Huge strides can be made outside of actual meal time, and you can discuss that healthy meal PDF. You have it up on your fridge. You can discuss it outside of mealtime. You can have the family help you shop for ingredients. Maybe they can help prepare a meal plan, help prepare the meals. There are certain things that you can enlist the kids to do. Help prepare shopping lists. If you gamify the process, gamify food, you can develop all sorts of games that surround food. You can take that worksheet, discuss what is a lean protein, what are smart carbs, what makes a vegetable, what's the difference between a vegetable and a fruit, and you could do cutouts. You could have kids design their own plate. There are apps out there that will help you to teach your child what proteins and what carbs are, discussing, different types of healthy foods. There are all sorts of things that are available out there. So involving others and have some fun, make a game of it. That'll help. Okay, so wanted to talk of some concrete things. This is the part of the presentation where we brainstorm a little bit. So we've already talked a little bit about going shopping together. So these are some of the action things we can do. We've talked about gamifying, but another thing that you can gamify, as you see there on the slide, is the actual eating, the actual preparing, and then the postmortem. I put that in there because wouldn't that be fun to make a game out of, especially if somebody didn't like something at the dinner table, make a game out of describing what it was that you don't like about it, and get really down in there. And that way you have a better idea of why they didn't like something. Was it the texture? Was it the taste? Was it the way it was prepared? This is going to give you information for next time that you try that food. Have challenges amongst the family. I know that there are families I work with who they have challenges who can eat the slowest. Okay, so I'm sure you can come up with all sorts of things. A great way to get people to try new food is to pair new food with favorites. What doesn't taste awesome with cheese on it, or what doesn't taste awesome with bacon in it, right? So you could throw some bacon and cheese on some Brussels sprouts or something. There are ways to help new food along. We're not trying to disguise, we're trying to help it along. And remember that those repeated tastings 10 times, don't give up. Once you try something new, try it again next week or 2 weeks down the road. Keep track of what you're trying and then try it in a different way. Try preparing it in a different method. Okay, my next point, compromise. Compromise, it works both ways, doesn't it? So if your family is trying your food, perhaps you can have a day where the kids get to make the menu, and together you come up with maybe a one-step healthier way to make what they're asking for, and they get to help you prepare it. They get to plan it out, and we're going to try and make this into, another game, right? So you get to try their healthy version of what they would like to eat. So it's kind of a fun way to do this. Another thing that a lot of my clients do is if you find a favorite, you want to make it in big batches. So big batch, have it for dinner, and then freeze what's left. So freeze it in whether it's single portions or whatever. This is the way to have an instant meal when the fridge is bare or you're in a rush and you want something that you feel good about there's always something in the freezer then. The next point, keep your mouth shut. Okay, so if you do make a batch of, I have this recipe for Hide the Veggies brownies. If you do make a batch of something like that, where you're not trying to disguise something, but you're just trying to add a little bit of nutrition into something that's treat like that, keep your mouth shut about it. Again, you don't want to be telling the kids, oh, you don't know what you just ate, so you want to make sure that they trust you. Okay, so just take it and know that you've done good and pat yourself on the back. Okay, restaurant introductions. Restaurant introductions, I put that in there because it's great to, especially for partners, if you each order something that you like, and then perhaps you can share and you can phrase this as, I might like to try this at home because I really like this. Would you try it out and see if you would ever eat this, or would you be willing to try this at home? It's a great way. That way, there's nothing personal involved there. Someone else has made it, and it's a good way to bring it up. Okay, our next point, the new favorites. So the new favorites, if you find something new that's good, keep it on the menu. Bake it again next week, because you want to make those favorites often, reinforcing the healthy meal that you found as a family. And then my last point is to get creative with sauces, spices, and combinations, because that can help along new flavors. If you know that somebody loves hot sauce and you put hot sauce on something new, then chances are they're going to like it a little bit better. Okay, here we are again, one step at a time. Okay, so I know you have taken a lot of notes. I'm going to go back and remember that the path to success is through small action steps, practiced one at a time, mindfully, and with consistency. So, what is your next action step? Look at your list and look for that low-hanging fruit. Make a note of that somewhere, that is what you're going to practice. Now, think about that, and do you think that you'll be able to achieve that? Whatever that little action step is, do you think you'll be able to achieve that? If you, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances that you think that you're going to achieve that goal? If you say 9 or 10, that's low-hanging fruit. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want to focus on. If you're any lower than that, chunk it down, make it a little bit more manageable, and then I want you to put that on a note somewhere. Whatever that action is, I want you to put that on a note, whether it's on your smartphone, on the home screen, put a note on the fridge, on the bathroom mirror, put a little reminder elastic band around your wrist, whatever works. And that's there to remind you for the next 2 weeks that that's what you're going to focus on. And this is how we make changes. And this is how change becomes a good habit. We're going to practice, practice, practice. We're learning to get good at making and fostering change. Okay, that's what we're doing here. One thing at a time. So I know there are a few reasons that you may be here today. And for many of us, it's the whole journey of weight loss being an ongoing battle. And it can be really daunting navigating your journey through health and fitness. I can totally relate. These are some of the things that I thought, I want to transform my body, but there's too much information out there and I have no idea where to start. It's true, there's tons of information out there. I've lost weight in the past, but I always seem to regain it again. That is my story. I want to regain that energy I used to have, and I want my body back. I want to feel the way I used to feel. I don't know what I should be doing. I do know what I should be doing to be healthy, but I just don't ever get around to it. Or I just can't seem to make it stick. So I know how you feel, because this is, if you haven't seen my website, you haven't seen my story, this is me. a number of years ago. I've had struggle after struggle with my weight for my whole adult life. Up and down and up and down. I went on every weight loss program that there is out there, I'm sure. I was an avid runner and did triathlons to try and get fit. In fact, I started to see some results there. And so then I wanted, and then I lost a little bit of weight and I gained it back. So I decided to run farther, run longer. I became an ultra runner. I was doing 5-hour training runs. I was running 50-mile races, and all the while, I never felt comfortable in my body. It was ironic, bending over to tie up my running shoes. It just felt awful. I was out of breath just doing that. I hated shopping. I couldn't stand being invited out for a special occasion where I had to wear something fitted because I hated having to go into my closet and maybe feel like I've grown out of my last purchase. And my last purchase was from the plus section. And I didn't want to go back there. I hated summer times at the pool. I couldn't stand to go on vacation because I'd have to wear a bathing suit. Just all those awful feelings. I hit rock bottom. And this is what happened. So I hit rock bottom. I had surgery. I had a hysterectomy. Gave me some time to think. I couldn't run anymore, so lots and lots of time thinking and recovering. And during that time, I decided that I needed some help. I needed some guidance. I needed to hand over the reins to somebody else. I knew that I needed a coach. So I found the right coach who was able to help me get through this journey, understanding my body. She helped me find the right answers for me and for my body and not follow someone else's rules and someone else's meal plans. She helped me to create a plan of action like we were talking about earlier, and she held me accountable to each of those little tiny steps along the way. And I learned confidence in this whole process. I learned confidence in how I looked. Obviously, you can see a body transformation there. I learned to trust my own choices. I learned to trust my body. I learned how to exercise properly for my body. I also learned how to be in situations of celebration where, there are treats around without it turning into a free-for-all. I was still able to eat normally with the family. You'd go out to restaurants. Obviously, again, you can see the body transformation, but also there was another transformation that happened, and that was to my career. This had such a huge impact on me that I decided I wanted to share this with other women. I wanted to share that they too could take control and learn to trust their body. I became qualified to teach the same program that my coach did with me, and I wanted to give back now outside of my personal training studio in Burlington. And I would like to guide a group of women just like yourselves through this process. So this I'd like to be able to offer online. I'm offering it as a group for everybody to start all at the same time. And you would have the benefit of having me as your personal coach and to hold you accountable just like my coach did with me. And as you can see, the results are there. I trust the program 100%. In fact, I trust it so much that I am going to be starting my online coaching with a 100% money back guarantee. So I'll be opening up my new online coaching program as of today. And if you're interested in joining the program, you'd have to just keep an eye open for your email. There'll be an email that'll come to you with all these details that are up on the screen. But I'm only opening up the program until October 7th because we're starting on October 10th. So by October 7th, I'm closing everything down and I'm only offering this to 40 women at this point. So again, I tell you that this is the exact same curriculum that I did for my body transformation, and I know it works. So I hope you will join me. Keep an eye open for that email to come through. And at this point, we would normally open it up for questions, but as you know, we had some connectivity issues. So if you, so during the original webinar, we had some connectivity issues. So if you do have any questions, please send them to me in an email, and we will be having another webinar in a week or so. And during that webinar, I will answer those questions, and if you join me, you can ask them live, or I may even get back to you before then. So please feel free to continue this conversation outside of this recording, and I hope to see you in the Evolve Nutrition Coaching online program. Take care. Thanks for watching.